Oh, for the love of all 13 moons of Luminara. Would someone please tell these bureaucrats to stop changing the environmental controls, I mutter under my breath, adjusting my thermal regulator for the 5th time in what humans would call an hour. The High Council chamber, usually a model of efficiency and comfort, has become a battleground of competing temperature preferences. Classic council behavior. Really, they can't even agree on room temperature, yet here we are, about to discuss the most significant discovery in galactic history. Let me introduce myself. I'm Professor Kaz Thor, xenoarchaeologist extraordinaire, and currently the most frustrated being in this ridiculously ornate chamber. The council members are still filing in, their ceremonial robes swishing against the polished quantum crystal floor. If I weren't so anxious about today's revelation, I'd be laughing at how they're trying to maintain their dignity while clearly sweating or whatever their species does when overheated. The capital world Luminara has hosted countless historic moments in its grand chambers, but nothing, absolutely nothing, compares to what I'm about to present. The data crystal in my hand feels heavier than a neutron star's core. Funny how something so small could cause such massive chaos, right? High Chancellor Vex, with his impressive array of sensory tentacles all neatly groomed, must have had them done specially for this crisis meeting, takes his position at the central podium. The chamber's architecture, designed to intimidate with its soaring ceilings and hovering platforms, suddenly seems inadequate for the gravity of our situation. Esteemed members of the High Council, Vex begins, his voice modulator perfectly tuned for maximum gravitas. We face an unprecedented situation. Oh, how I love their flair for stating the obvious. I've seen quantum computers with less processing power than it takes the council to reach a simple conclusion. The holographic displays flicker to life around us, showing various images from Earth. Beautiful, terrifying Earth, or as we classified it, Deathworld Prime. The images cycle through humans going about their daily lives, blissfully unaware that they've just turned the galaxy's power structure upside down. Professor Kaz Thor, please present your findings, Vex announces, all 4 of his hearts probably pounding in synchronized anxiety. I rise from my seat, fighting the urge to make a sarcastic comment about how they finally remembered I've been sitting here for 3 hours. As I approach the central platform, I can't help but appreciate the irony. Years of studying ancient civilizations, countless expeditions to forgotten worlds, and what finally cracks the greatest mystery in the galaxy. A human child's playground game. Sometimes I think the universe has a sense of humor that would make even a Jovian gas giant whale blush. The council members lean forward in their seats, various appendages twitching with anticipation. Here we go, time to tell them how a species we once considered barely space-worthy has accidentally unlocked the most powerful technology in known space. And the best part, they did it while playing hopscotch. Let me take you back to when this whole mess started. First contact with humans was, well, exactly as chaotic as you'd expect when meeting a species that evolved on a planet that tries to kill them in at least 50 different ways before breakfast. Our initial surveys of Earth left our scientists baffled. The gravity alone should have crushed them into paste. The atmospheric composition, highly corrosive. Temperature variations that would shatter most species' thermal regulation systems. And let's not even get started on their bacteria. Those microscopic terrors would make a drachnid warbeast run crying to its mother. Surely, our experts said, no sentient species could evolve there. They really should have learned by then. The universe loves proving experts wrong. The humans didn't just survive, they thrived. They built civilizations while fighting off predators that would give our military tacticians nightmares. They created art while battling diseases that could reshape DNA. They made music while enduring natural disasters that would level our most fortified cities. And most incredibly, they played games. That's where Sarah Bennett comes in. Oh, what a delightfully chaos-inducing child. 8 Earth years old, pigtails bouncing as she skipped through our most sacred archaeological site on New Anthea. Her mother, Dr. Lisa Bennett, was part of the first human scientific exchange program, a brilliant xenobiologist who apparently didn't believe in babysitters. Mommy, look, it's just like hopscotch. Sarah's voice echoed through the ancient chambers that day, making my research assistant, junior scholar Plex, nearly jump out of his exoskeleton. I remember watching her small form bouncing from one section of the intricate floor pattern to another, reciting some sort of counting rhyme. 1, 2, buckle my shoe. 3, 4, shut the door, she sang, her feet landing precisely on specific geometric shapes that we'd spent decades studying. The patterns we'd classified as precursor ceremonial markings were apparently identical to a human children's game. What are the odds? Actually, I calculated them, It's roughly 1 in 7 trillion, but who's counting? The truly astonishing part wasn't just the pattern match, it was what happened next. As Sarah completed her hopscotch sequence, the ancient floor began to glow. Patterns that had remained dormant for millions of cycles suddenly pulsed with energy. My instruments went absolutely berserk, registering power readings that shouldn't have been possible. Analyzing in progress, my datapad chirped helpfully, while practically melting from the energy surge. Meanwhile, Sarah just stood there, grinning like she'd found a new toy, completely unfazed by the ancient technology responding to her presence. Dr. Bennett's face went through an impressive range of expressions: scientific curiosity, maternal concern, and then that uniquely human look of, oh no, what has my child done now? If only she knew that her daughter had just unlocked technology that predated our oldest civilizations. The really fascinating part, Sarah insisted she'd done nothing special. That's just how you play hopscotch, she said, shrugging those tiny shoulders while ancient systems hummed to life around her. You have to do the steps in the right order, or it doesn't count. Right order indeed. We'd spent centuries trying to decode these patterns, and all along, the key was preserved in a simple Earth children's game. The implications were staggering. How had this information been passed down through countless generations of human children? Why did they preserve this specific sequence? And most importantly, what exactly had little Sarah Bennett activated? I transmitted my preliminary findings to the High Council that evening, expecting the usual bureaucratic delay. Instead, I received an immediate response, the first time in recorded history that the Council moved faster than a sedated Plutonian slug. Turns out, similar patterns were being discovered at dig sites across the galaxy, and human children everywhere were recognizing them. We hadn't just found a key to ancient technology, we'd stumbled upon evidence that humans, somehow, had been prepped for this discovery for thousands of years. And that, dear Council members, was just the beginning of our revelations. Now, imagine my predicament. How do you tell the High Council that the most powerful weapon systems in known space can be activated by a children's playground game? The looks on their faces. Chancellor Vex's sensory tentacles tied themselves into knots. I think he's still trying to untangle them. The Precursors, as we so unimaginatively named them, weren't just advanced, they were so far beyond us that they made our most sophisticated technology look like two rocks being banged together. They vanished millions of cycles ago, leaving behind only fragments of their civilization. Well, fragments and apparently an entire arsenal coded into human childhood games. The pattern matching is undeniable, Dr. Lumina announced during our first official analysis, her bioluminescent spots pulsing with excitement. The hopscotch grid isn't just similar to the weapon activation sequences, it's mathematically identical, down to the quantum level. She paused, then added with a nervous twitch of her antenna, though I doubt the Precursors called it hopscotch. The real kicker? It wasn't just hopscotch. Remember Around the Rosie? Turns out it's a perfect match for activating orbital defense systems. London Bridge, that one powers up planet-wide shield generators. And don't even get me started on Duck Goose. Let's just say it does something particularly interesting to local gravity fields. Here's where it gets truly bizarre. We ran tests, obviously, brought in children from various species to try the same patterns. Nothing. Nada. Zero. Zilch. But put one human child on that grid. Instant activation. The systems didn't just respond, they practically sang to them. The genetic markers are unique to humans, Dr. Lumina explained, showing me readings that made my secondary brain hurt. It's as if humans were deliberately engineered to interface with these systems. Well, that certainly explained a few things about Earth's peculiar evolutionary path. Our first controlled test nearly gave the entire science team collective cardiac arrest. We had Sarah, under more safety protocols than a Venusian plutonium vault, perform a complete hopscotch sequence in our most secure facility. The results? The entire complex came alive. Dormant systems we didn't even know existed started booting up. Energy readings went off the charts. And Sarah? She just kept smiling, asking if she could do it again because the lights were pretty. The really mind-bending part was how this knowledge survived. Thousands of years of human history, countless generations of children, passing down these activation sequences perfectly preserved in their games. No written instructions, no formal teaching, just kids being kids, playing the same games their parents played, who learned them from their parents, and so on back through time. But why games? Chancellor Vex demanded during one particularly heated session. Why encode weapons of mass destruction into children's entertainment? I couldn't help but laugh. Chancellor, what better way to preserve critical information? Sacred texts can be destroyed. Data can be corrupted. Civilizations can fall. But try stopping children from playing their favorite games. The look of dawning comprehension on his face was priceless. The implications were staggering. The precursors hadn't just hidden their technology, they'd entrusted it to humanity's children, knowing they would preserve it perfectly generation after generation, without even realizing what they were protecting. Then came the day we let Sarah try the sequence with full power authorization. The weapon system she activated? It made our most powerful warships look like toy boats in a bathtub. The energy output alone could have powered our entire civilization for a decade. And what was Sarah's response to wielding this universe-shattering power? Can we have ice cream now? That's the moment I realized we weren't just dealing with recovered technology or ancient weapons. We were watching the rebirth of a power that could reshape the galaxy. And it was all in the hands of beings who still thought pull my finger was the height of sophisticated humor. The Council's reaction? They did what they do best, they formed a committee to study the implications. Sometimes I wonder if the precursors are watching us somewhere, laughing their ancient heads off. Have you ever watched a cascade of dominoes? That's exactly what happened next. Except instead of tiny blocks falling over, it was ancient superweapons activating across the galaxy. And instead of a neat, orderly pattern, it was pure chaos. Beautiful, terrifying chaos. News of Sarah's discovery spread faster than a quantum virus. Every human colony, every research station with human families, every diplomatic outpost, suddenly children were looking at ancient ruins with new eyes. And wouldn't you know it? They found matching patterns everywhere. Red light, green light activated a planetary defense grid in the Centauri system. A group of kids playing the floor as lava accidentally triggered a solar energy harvesting array that had been dormant for millions of years. And don't even get me started on what happened when the Anderson twins decided to play Simon Says in the ruins on Proxima b. The panic among other species was, well, let's call it colorful. The Centauri delegation turned such a brilliant shade of purple, we thought they might have evolved a new chromatophore on the spot. The Vex Consortium's representative actually molted 3 weeks ahead of schedule. And the Drachnid Empire? They recalled their entire battle fleet. Because apparently the most terrifying thing in the galaxy isn't a warmongering empire, it's human children with access to precursor technology. This is unprecedented, Chancellor Vex declared during an emergency session, all 4 of his hearts beating so fast they were practically harmonizing. We have a species of Deathworlders who can activate ancient superweapons by playing games. I couldn't resist pointing out the obvious. Actually, Chancellor, we have a species of Deathworlders whose children can activate ancient superweapons by playing games. The adults can't do it. Isn't that fascinating? The silence that followed was deafening. Because yes, that's right, only human children could interface with the technology. Something about their neural patterns, their unformed minds, their pure intention to just play and have fun. The moment they hit puberty, the ability began to fade. Dr. Lumina's research team made an even more startling discovery. The human children aren't just activating the systems she reported, her bioluminescent spots practically strobing with excitement. They're communicating with them. The technology responds to their emotional state, their intentions. It's like the systems were designed specifically for them. The evidence was undeniable. Footage from across the galaxy showed human children instinctively knowing how to operate technology that our best scientists couldn't even begin to understand. A 6-year-old in the Orion colony figured out how to reconfigure a planetary shield by treating it like a jump rope rhyme. A group of 3rd graders on Mars discovered they could control weather systems through an elaborate variation of tag. The panic reached fever pitch when little Tommy Chen, during a diplomatic visit to the Galactic Central Archive, started playing patty cake with his sister. The entire archive, stretching 20 levels underground and housing the accumulated knowledge of 1,000 civilizations, lit up like a Christmas tree. Systems we didn't even know existed began interfacing with each other. The resulting data surge knocked out communications across 3 sectors. Tommy's response? Oops. Do it again. The human ambassador Chen tried to maintain diplomatic calm, but even he couldn't hide his amusement. So let me get this straight, he said during an emergency council session. You're telling me that every game, every childish rhyme, every playground activity our species has passed down for generations, they're all actually operating manuals for the most advanced technology ever created. That is correct, Ambassador Chancellor Vex replied. his tentacles twitching nervously. And only our children can use it. Yes, and there's nothing you can do about it. Also correct. The ambassador's smile could only be described as positively devilish. Well then, I suggest we all schedule a playdate. That's when we realized the true magnitude of our situation. We hadn't just discovered ancient technology, we'd stumbled upon proof that humanity's entire development, their survival on that deadly planet, their children's games. It was all part of some grand precursor plan. And now, ready or not, that plan was unfolding across the galaxy, one hopscotch game at a time. The emergency council sessions that followed were, without a doubt, the most entertaining political theater I've ever witnessed. Picture, if you will, the most dignified assembly of alien representatives in the galaxy, completely losing their collective minds over the fact that human children had become the most powerful force in known space. The Zentari delegation proposed building a wall around human space. Yes, a wall. In space. When someone pointed out the slight logistical issues with this plan, their chief diplomat turned all 7 of his eyes to the floor and mumbled something about at least trying. The Drachnid Empire, those fearsome warriors who once threatened to conquer half the galaxy, submitted a formal request to be reclassified as a non-threatening agricultural society. They even offered to rename their battle fleet as the Peaceful Farming Equipment Collection. Watching their war marshal announce this while nervously eyeing a group of human kids playing tag outside the council chamber was, well, priceless doesn't begin to cover it. We must contain this situation, Chancellor Vex declared during the 4th emergency session that week. His tentacles were so twisted with stress that the council's medical team had to put them in splints. Perhaps we could prohibit human children from playing games. The human ambassador, Chen, actually spat out his coffee laughing. Chancellor, he said, wiping his mouth, have you ever tried to stop children from playing? I believe you'd have better luck stopping a black hole with a paper bag. The Regelian ambassador, always practical, suggested creating a database of prohibited playground activities. They actually compiled a list, which included hopscotch, jump rope, tag, hide and seek, and something called double dutch, which half the council couldn't even pronounce. The list was officially in effect for exactly 6 minutes before being rendered obsolete by a group of kindergartners who invented a new game that accidentally activated a dormant terraforming array. The solution is simple, announced the Proximan representative, their crystalline form vibrating with certainty. We must study these games scientifically, analyze them, understand them. They set up an elite research team. Top scientists from every species, dedicated to understanding the principles of duck, goose. I heard they're still trying to figure out why the goose has to chase the duck. Their preliminary report was 80,000 pages long and concluded with, further research needed. The humans, meanwhile, handled the situation with what I can only describe as Deathworlder swagger. Their diplomatic response was a masterpiece of political maneuvering, which basically amounted to, hey, we didn't know either, but since we're here. Ambassador Chen's address to the council became instantly legendary. Distinguished representatives. He began, standing at the podium with that peculiar human expression they call a poker face. We understand your concerns about human children having access to universe-altering technology. We share those concerns. Have you met our children? Half of them would trade their siblings for a candy bar. The silence in the chamber was deafening. However, he continued, we propose a compromise. Yes, our children can activate these systems. Yes, this gives us significant influence in galactic affairs. But consider this, when was the last time any of you just played a game for fun? That's when Sarah Bennett, who had somehow snuck into the council chamber, started teaching a group of alien diplomats how to play hopscotch, without accessing any ancient technology, just playing. The sight of the Drachnid war marshal, his fearsome battle armor clanking, carefully hopping on one foot while a human child cheered him on. Well, let's just say the galaxy's political landscape was never quite the same after that. In the end, the council did what bureaucracies do best. They created committees. Lots of them. We now have the Department of Childhood Recreation Activities, the Bureau of Playground Safety and Supernatural Technologies, and my personal favorite, the Emergency Response Team for Unexpected Game-Related Phenomena. But the real kicker? The humans insisted on one condition in all diplomatic agreements moving forward: mandatory recess periods during all political negotiations. After all, as Ambassador Chen put it, if we're going to reshape the galaxy, we might as well have fun doing it. And you know what? The galaxy's been running a lot smoother since we started settling trade disputes with games of Red Rover. The universe has a sense of humor. Just ask Dr. Lumina, who made the discovery that changed everything right after she learned to play pat a cake with Sarah Bennett. Professor Kaz Thorshi burst into my office, her bioluminescent spots flashing like a disco party. We've been looking at this all wrong. These aren't weapon systems, they're a planetary defense network. No, wait, they're a safety system for children. The data didn't lie. Every single weapon activated by the human children had one thing in common: they could only be used for defense, never aggression. The precursors hadn't created an arsenal, they built the universe's biggest safety net. That hopscotch pattern that scared the Council's collective appendages off? It was a shield generator designed to protect developing civilizations. Ring Around the Rosie activated atmospheric purification systems. Even Duck Goose turned out to be an emergency evacuation protocol. When Dr. Lumina presented her findings to the Council, Chancellor Vex's tentacles actually untangled themselves in shock. You mean to tell me, he sputtered, that the most advanced civilization in history entrusted their planetary protection systems to children's games? Ambassador Chen couldn't help himself. Well, if you wanted to make sure something never got used for war, who better to trust than kids who think the worst thing in the universe is being told it's bedtime? The real kicker came when we discovered the final piece of the puzzle. The precursors hadn't randomly chosen humans as their technological heirs. They'd engineered Earth itself, that deadly, challenging Deathworld, as a training ground. Every environmental challenge, every survival pressure that shaped human evolution had been carefully designed to create a species that could access this technology. But why children? Dr. Lumina's analysis was beautiful in its simplicity because children play. They don't seek power. They don't seek power. They don't dream of conquest. They just want to have fun, make friends, and keep everyone safe in the game. The council chamber erupted in chaos, the good kind this time. The Drachnid War Marshal was the first to break protocol, asking Sarah to teach him hopscotch for purely diplomatic reasons. Of course, within hours, the chamber had transformed into something resembling a playground. You haven't lived until you've seen a Zentari diplomat attempt jump rope with their tentacles, or a Regelian crystalline entity trying to grasp the concept of tag-no-tag backs. Ambassador Chen's formal address to the council went down in galactic history for generations. We thought we were just teaching our children games. Turns out we were teaching them how to be guardians of the galaxy. Not bad for a bunch of Deathworlders who still think whoopee cushions are funny. The political reshaping of the galaxy happened faster than a sugar rush at a birthday party. The Galactic Defense Force was reformed into the Interstellar Playground Maintenance Committee. Military training included mandatory sessions in childhood games. Every diplomatic station now required a fully equipped playground for security purposes, naturally. My favorite part? The ancient precursor text we finally decoded. Turns out their last message to the galaxy reads something like, "To whoever finds this, lighten up a little. The universe is meant to be fun." Sarah Bennett, now appointed as the youngest ever galactic security consultant, put it best during her first official statement: "You grown-ups make everything so complicated. Sometimes you just need to skip around, laugh, and make sure everybody gets a turn." As I wrap up this report, I can't help but smile. Through my office window, I can see the new Galactic Council playground, where representatives from 1,000 worlds are learning that maybe, just maybe, the best way to handle the serious business of running a galaxy is to remember how to play. And somewhere, I'm convinced, an ancient race of highly advanced beings is looking down at their grand experiment, watching human children teach the galaxy how to have fun again, and thinking mission accomplished. Though I have to wonder, what other games are hiding ancient secrets? I've been keeping a close eye on this thing called musical chairs. You never know. As I finish recording this historical account, I can't help but marvel at how far we've come. The Galactic Peace Observatory, once a sterile monitoring station, now boasts the largest playground in 7 sectors. Our most sophisticated diplomatic protocols involve freeze tag, and our early warning system is based on Mother May I. Yesterday, I watched a group of human children teaching young Zentari how to play Red Rover. The sight of those towering crystalline beings nervously joining hands and giggling, yes, giggling, as human kids ran through their line. Well, it gives an old xenoarchaeologist hope for the future. The precursors left us the greatest gift imaginable, the reminder that peace isn't achieved through mighty weapons or complex treaties, but through the simple wisdom of children at play. Though I suspect even they didn't anticipate their technology being used to settle border disputes via rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock. Chancellor Vex finally untangled his tentacles, by the way. He's become quite good at jump rope. though we had to modify the rules slightly to account for his extra appendages. He's even suggested making double Dutch mandatory training for all council members. And Sarah Bennett? She just started elementary school. Her first show and tell was about how she helped prevent an interstellar war by teaching aliens to play hopscotch. Her teacher gave her a B. Apparently, the story seemed a bit far-fetched. Some mysteries of the universe remain unsolved, though. We're still trying to figure out what ancient technology might be hidden in hide and seek. The Drachnid Empire has an entire research division dedicated to it. After all, in a galaxy full of wonders, you never know what game might change everything next.